Hi everyone. So before I get into my videos on estrogen dominance and low progesterone, insulin resistance, and cortisol, I thought that since they're all related to the menstrual cycle, that I would just do a very brief tutorial on how it works and then what happens to estrogen during perimenopause in your menstrual cycle, just so you can kind of have a brief understanding of what is going on before I get deeper into those topics. Excuse me. So first of all, we're going to start with day one of your cycle, and this is not going to be a long explanation, don't worry. So day one is when you start to bleed. So, and your hormones are at rock bottom at that point. So very, very short science lesson. In your brain, your hypothalamus realizes that your sex hormones are low. So it releases gonadotropin releasing hormone, which goes to the pituitary gland and says, hey, time to release FSH. So FSH is called follicle stimulating hormone. And what that does is it goes into your ovaries and says, hey guys, it is time to produce estrogen because we need to make or release an egg. So FSH talks to the ovaries start to make estrogen. So what happens is follicles start to form, endometrial lining starts to thicken, and then if everything goes tickety-boo, then around the middle of your cycle, let's say you're on a 28-day cycle, day 14, boom, the egg gets released and travels down the fallopian tube into the uterus to look for some sperm to hopefully make an embryo. And so then what happens is as soon as that follicle is released, what's left over is it turns into the corpus luteum with the help of luteinizing hormone. And that is when progesterone starts to get made. So you'll see a huge spike after ovulation of progesterone. And progesterone really helps with maintaining a really healthy endometrial lining for a really healthy and productive pregnancy. Now, if there's no embryo, then your body realizes that and out it sheds the endometrial lining, and then you're back to the top with your hypothalamus signaling the whole cycle all over again. So when you get to perimenopause. So this can happen in women as young as in their mid-30s. Typically it's around starting age 40. And the average age of menopause is 51. So it can happen, you can be in perimenopause for as long as 10, 12 years. The average is anywhere between 4 to 8, kind of a long average. So here's what's happening. So kind of like the rest of you, your ovaries start to get tired. And so what happens when the cycle happens, FSH is released, it goes down to your ovaries and it's like, hey guys, time to make some estrogen so we can do our thing. And the ovaries are like, no, we're tired, we're gonna take a break this month. So FSH does a little more, ovaries say no thank you, and then as a result you get very little estrogen production. You may become anovulatory that month, your progesterone levels are in the tank, and you have symptoms of low estrogen for that month. Next month, what could happen is, let's say your ovaries have had a nice break, and they're like, okay, you know what? This is our month. We're listening to that FSH and we're gonna produce a ton of estrogen. And that is why, actually, here's just a little known fact, for women who are able to get pregnant without any fertility treatments in their 40s, they sometimes spontaneously have twins, because what happens is your ovaries can get so pumped and excited and release so much estrogen that you can actually ovulate twice in 1 month and produce 2 eggs. Now, with those super high estrogen levels come really tender breasts, really heavy periods. There's also, here's the beautiful thing, whether you have low estrogen or high estrogen, you're gonna get mood swings. So things are going really well. And then you release those eggs and the cycle goes again. So through those 10 years of perimenopause, there's no rhyme or reason on whether you're going to have low estrogen release 1 month or high, and how you create, and so that's why you can get these really crazy cycles in how you feel. You can get really heavy periods for a few months in a row. Your cycle maybe you become anovulatory, you don't get a period for a few months, and it's really hard to predict anything, and that's why we get so frustrated as women and want to make changes and fix it. Now, one quick thing just to think about before I start the next video on estrogen dominance is, regardless of whether you have low or high estrogen, estrogen dominance is determined on the ratio of progesterone compared to your low or high. So just keep that in the back of your mind. But I hope that brief explanation was helpful in having you determine why you're getting those mood swings, why you're getting the super heavy periods 1 month, why maybe you're missing a couple cycles. And that's all due to FSH and the ovaries just saying, you know what, not this month, friends. Or yeah, sweet, I'm in it to win it. So I hope that was helpful. Leave any questions, comments, feedback below. And the next video on estrogen dominance is coming up in a few days. Thanks.